In 40 minutes, I was always battling with my voice. I would be losing the voice and, constant worrying about the voice. And of course, I did not imagine that it was chain smoking Lucky Strikes, drinking 10 beers a day, half a liter of whiskey, doing speeds, hardly sleeping, and singing along with Guns N' Roses till 5 in the morning every day on the bus.
Holics.com and Season of Mist are proud to present High Notes, a podcast about addiction and recovery in the music industry. I'm your host, James Shotwell. My guest this episode is my good friend Aðalbjörn, or as we'll call him here, Addi. Addi is the guitar player and vocalist for Sólstafir, an Icelandic post-metal outfit whose latest release, Endless Twilight of Codependent Love, is available now through Season of Mist. Not only is Addi the first guest from Iceland to appear on High Notes, but he's also the first person from the worlds of black metal and post-metal, two areas of music that are not necessarily known for their open discussion of addiction and recovery. And while Addi's journey is undeniably unique, I think you will find that there are these common threads that run throughout that anyone struggling with addiction, or anyone who knows someone struggling with addiction, will recognize. When we first connected over the phone, our conversation started where it always does, asking Addi how long he's been sober.
7 years. December 1st.
I then asked Addi to take me back to 2013, to the months leading up to that December, and what changed in his life that led him to make the decision to get clean.
Well, it's sort of two separate things. It's personal life and sort of rock and roll life. You're always traveling, and it's making an ass out of yourself, asking the wrong people if they can get you this or that. So fucking up gigs because you haven't slept, or you just dehydrated, or your voice is gone and the band is arguing. And so on a personal level, I was just being unfaithful to my girlfriend at the time, and sort of your moral levels, they go down. So the last weekend that I was sort of drinking, I was singing with a band from Iceland called Skálmöld. They're sort of a Viking metal band, and they were doing a show with the Icelandic National Symphony Orchestra. And I'm there singing with them, drunk and high as a kite, singing with the symphony orchestra. And of course, after that, I go to some bar to score more stuff, go to another bar, end up with some random girl in a toilet who by accident knew my girlfriend. I was kind of busted. Long story short, I'm busted. I tried to lie some more. I failed miserably at lying. The wall of lies broke. I cry, call some people. What the fuck can I do? And I've been sober 7 years.
I cannot stop thinking about this moment in Addi's life. There he is on stage, intoxicated, when out of the corner of his eye he sees a symphony orchestra. A group of people, most likely dressed very well, holding instruments that they have spent their lives learning to play, and they're looking back at him. Even now, completely sober, I get anxiety just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's that's kind of funny because you're high as a kite. I'm dressed in a chainmail and leather pants or whatever, and the conductor and all looking at you like.
Anyone who has started the journey to recovery comes to a moment like the one Addi is describing. While it may look incredibly different, you hit the same wall. This realization that you have to make a change. And in that moment, you think of somebody to talk to. And the person Addi chose may surprise you.
My old dealer was a friend of mine, aka my dealer. He had been sober for like half a year. And I was like, fucking hell, man, if he can do it, then maybe I can. So I called him and I said, hey, man, what are you doing, in order to quit this habit or just, stay away? And he told me what he was doing. I followed his path. And, he relapsed many times after that. But the funny thing is, if you spend 20 years, I was 36 when I quit. So, yeah, so when you spend 20 years in a bar, and that sort of, you really feel connected to that sort of living, you want to go to the bar and you feel comfortable knowing the bartender, you get your discounts, or you knows what you drink, and everybody's there. It's that you really relate to spending all your time at the bar. And that's what I did for 20 years. You're at the bar on a Monday night and you sort of ask yourself, where is everybody? And you don't figure out, well, it is Monday night. I mean, most people do not spend their Monday nights at the bar. You figure out that when you quit drinking, a lot of people actually used to be at the bar. They have been sober. That's why they sort of quit hanging at the bar. So when you quit drinking and seek help from other people, most likely you're going to meet the people you used to hang with at the bar. So it's not like you leave the life of being at the bar or always being drunk and you just start meeting people that are total fucking strangers. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that I had known for years. I didn't know what happened to them. They just left the bar and it changed their lives. And it's still the same people. Just they don't spend all their time at the fucking bar anymore, or driving drunk with their kids, or beating up their wife, or showing up drunk to work, or being unfaithful to your lover. It's just it's nothing is new as under the sun. It's always the same sick shit you do.
Anyone that has ever had a dealer in their life will tell you that dealer often acted like a philosopher, understanding human experience in a way that others do not. But in the case of Addi's dealer, that may actually be true. They're making a great point about how the people and places that we define ourselves by often influence every aspect of our lives. And I really wanted to know, during this conversation, when Addi confided in this person that he was wanting to get clean, what suggestion would a dealer make?
Join a 12-step program. There's a lot of people that I thought was weird, but soon you will know where the people you connect to are. And I just felt so inspired by people because you relate to people that have been, it's self-medicating, man. I was using drugs and alcohol. Well, alcohol is a drug, just for the record. It's self-medicating for some reason, and you meet people that manage to step outside of the darkness and live a fairly good life, not being depressed all the time or anxious or want to die or having to escape, just being the present.
Anyone that has struggled with dependency will recognize what Addi is describing right now. When you meet someone who is living a clean life, their existence seems impossible because you cannot wrap your head around the idea of living through the day without leaning on something, anything at all, to help make it a little bit more manageable.
Yeah, it's if people think it's weird that someone quits drinking, I know that feeling because I remember I was hammered drunk when this happened. But I remember I'm in this bar, in comes the guy, and I'm told that he doesn't drink, and I'm like, what? Poor fellow, man. Fuck, what happened to him? It was almost like he'd become an astronaut. He was so fucking weird. He was hanging at the bar and he didn't drink, or he had quit drinking. I didn't know what it meant because I thought when someone would quit drinking, it'd either be you'd be a homeless bum drinking moonshine or whatever they drink, smoking crack, or I don't know what it meant. Why would you quit? And of course, you don't know anyone that sort of quits. Today, when someone thinks, me or you or someone else is weird for quitting, I guess you don't know what it means because it's way bigger than you expect. It's not just about not drinking at the bar. I mean, I don't go to bars. I have no interest in going to bars. Life is so much bigger than bars, or being drunk, or being hungover, or spending all your money on losing your house. Or I've destroyed 3 cars. Just because I'm a drunk, I didn't change oil on the car.
Being part of a successful metal band that has a career stretching over 2 decades, Addi has a wealth of stories featuring the typical rock and roll debauchery that you would expect. But before we get to his life in music, I wanted to know about his life before it, and what came first. Was it the drugs, or was it the music?
The first time someone in my sort of group of friends was doing drugs. This must have been in 1998 or around that. We were sharing a rehearsal space, a couple of friends, and I mean, Sólstafir had been around at that time for like 3-4 years. And 98, I'm like 21 or something. We saw some powder on the table in the rehearsal space, and I remember I did this and I tasted it, and I could feel numbness on my tongue. So I knew this was drugs because I didn't know what it was. And we were so shocked that a friend of ours was doing drugs. This was like a movie. And I remember thinking, what an idiot. What an idiot for doing drugs. I mean, it's going to fuck things up. I mean, we remember reading about guys like Lane Staley or Kurt Cobain or doing drugs and they die or they get fuck everything up. So at that time, 1998 or something, this was so far away. I mean, we were in a band. We were always meeting up and writing songs, go to concerts. We would go out to England, to Donington. So we'd go to festivals. There were never drugs involved. We just drink beer, pass out, rock and roll, kind of innocent. Fast forward 10 years later, it's not that innocent anymore. So yeah, it's you don't realize it until it's sort of too late.
Addi is describing a classic narrative in the world of addiction. The story of someone who is convinced that they have their problem under control until the day comes when they realize they do not.
Yeah, but I quit when I'm 36. At 16, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. Where from me being 16 and 36, where do I turn into an alcoholic? When does the water start to boil? So, it's an interesting, you can ask yourself, when in this 20-year period you sort of you reach the point of no return.
Addi just referenced the idea of not knowing when the water was starting to boil. And he's talking about a metaphor about a frog who finds himself in a pot of water. And slowly, the water starts to warm up. And at first, it feels really good. The frog enjoys being in warm water. And then it gets a little bit hotter, and a little bit hotter, and then it starts to boil. And all of a sudden, the frog isn't so comfortable anymore. It starts to be a little bit more painful, and then it gets even hotter until the frog eventually dies. And the question is, when was the frog aware that it was going to go south? When did he know that things were coming off the rails? And you may be wondering, when Addi was in the midst of this, when the water was warming up and the signs were starting to be there that things might not be right, did the rest of the band follow his lead? Or is he the only one that decided to get sober?
Svavar, our bass player, he was sort of, when he joined the band, he was sober. So he joined the band around 98. When he joined the band, we picked him up. He used to live in sort of a rehabilitation center. So he would come home before 10 a.m. because, it's strict rules. He relapsed like a year later. Then around in the mid of sort of 2005 or something, he's sober for like 5-6 years in the band while touring. I don't know how I did it because we were all like pigs, man. Just loving the dirt, rolling around. And then there's a few years when we were all sort of, I really don't want to talk about all the people, but we were all doing stuff. If it's drinking a bottle of Smirnoff or doing a line of speed or coke or acid or weed or whatever it is, we're all pretty much fucking barbecuing our brains. I was sort of the functioning one because I was doing more white drugs with it, so I would be the one waking up everyone else in the morning in the hotels, still high, of course, while others were sort of not doing it and they would pass out. So it's, of course, I wasn't the functioning one, but I'd be the one that was still awake. So, that was my excuse. I mean, at least I'm not passed out here, with poop in my pants or whatever, or poop in your mouth or whatever it is, rock you put. Yeah, so I quit 2013. Svavar, our bass player, he followed very shortly. And today, I mean, we changed drummers. And he quit drinking a few years ago as well. So there's 3 of us in the band that don't drink, and the 4th one, so I thought he isn't really an alcoholic, so he can have a glass of whiskey or beer or smoke some weed, and it's fine. It's not really any darkness. I mean, there's no damage or sort of burned trail after him. Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, like 2012, 13, we are doing a festival. There's firemen with smoke masks and axes running in the hall because of us. There's a broken TV in the hotel room. The whole room is shattered with glass. An old big tube TV that entered the wall, and there's a destroyed fire alarming system. and I'm hammered drunk talking to a Dutch police officer and the hotel manager and the festival manager, trying to persuade them not to press charges and put us to prison. Our sound guy had to pay 4,000 euros in damage to cover our damages, and we had to pay breakfast for all the hotel guests. Or in the middle of the night, old people and young people with little children were standing in the parking lot, all because of us. The weekend before, there was another incident, which I'm not going to talk about. We had 2 weekends in a row. We were sort of getting shitlisted by festivals. Everything you worked for, you're destroying. Just by being an asshole. Drunk, drugged up asshole. And we were sort of getting shitlisted by festivals in Europe. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to be the guy in the band, being the band that's not allowed on festivals because you're a fucking idiot. We managed to apologize and pay for every damages, and sort of we haven't destroyed any property after that. So it's pretty good.
I think we all have a mental image of what the rock and roll lifestyle looks like, and it's based almost entirely on music videos from the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. It's this lush world of seemingly endless parties where everyone is beautiful, drugs and alcohol are everywhere, and you can do essentially anything that you want whenever you want. But we very rarely stop to consider what happens after. What happens after the party ends? What happens after you destroy your hotel room and people find out? What happens after people learn about your debaucherous behavior?
John Bonham on a motorcycle going through a wall. I mean, it's different when someone just had $1 million to pay for it and he was sort of untouchable. I mean, Jimmy Page had like a 12-year-old girlfriend, but today you don't really see anyone that hammered and getting away with it. I mean, at some point in my life when I was younger, I would look at the singer who was hammered drunk saying, oh man, that's so fucking rock and roll. If I see a 40-year-old guy drunk on stage, I think that's fucking sad. If someone thinks I'm a nerd for saying that, so I don't give a shit.
Addi is making a great point. Our culture tells us that it's cool to be young and not care about anything. But once you cross a certain age, be it 25 or 30, not caring is no longer cool. It's actually kind of sad.
My heroes are like Nick Cave or James Hetfield. I've been saying that Nick Cave has never been better. It's still like getting 60, man. It's kind of weird. And I can tell you another thing is weird, that when we were starting touring around 2008, we were doing like 40-minute set with opening up for other bands. And at 40 minutes, I was always battling with my voice. I would be losing the voice and, constant worrying about the voice. And of course, I did not imagine that it was chain smoking Lucky Strikes, drinking 10 beers a day, half a liter of whiskey, doing speed, hardly sleeping, and singing along with Guns N' Roses till 5 a.m. every day on the bus. Of course, it's not that. It's just something else. I was changing cigarette brands and changing this, whatever. So today, I've done a 6-week tour, singing for 2 hours a day, hardly without sweating. Well, I did sweat, but I didn't fuck up the voice. So that's another big difference. Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that at this point, Addi is pretty happy with his sober life. He's healthier than ever, touring successfully, and he's even started a family. But I wanted to know, when was the last time that he had a craving to use drugs or alcohol? And when was the last time he felt genuinely tempted to do so?
I haven't had temptation for drugs. I've sort of shielded myself well with that. Do I get pissed off, sad, sort of depressed? Sure, but I haven't had a craving for drug and alcohol for 7 years. Not like experience my friends telling me. So I don't.
That answer is incredibly rare, not just for high notes, but in general. Many people struggle with the temptation to go back to their old lifestyle, and we would never want to downplay the seriousness of those temptations here on the show. But as our conversation moved forward, we had to talk about music. After all, it's what Addi does for a living, and it's part of the reason this show exists. So I had to ask, what effect did 7 years of sobriety have on his creativity?
Lyric-wise, you look upon things a little bit differently, but I've had many friends who sort of killed themselves, and you see it from a different perspective. Why did it had to happen? It's sort of more overview of the darkness I'm not standing in the darkness. It's like if I feel depressed or if I have a depressed period of my life, I can't write shit. Nothing comes out of it. It's not until later, till it's in the sort of review mirror, that I can sort of write about it. So today I can sort of write more about the darkness that I used to be in, because while I was in it, it was harder. But it hasn't really, changed that much in writing stuff. Not really, no.
My sober friends and I refer to what Addi was just describing as the void. It's this thing that, now that we're sober, we feel like we're walking on a tightrope above this endless black hole that once consumed every part of our lives. It's where our depression lies. It's where our existential dread resides. It's where all the things that led us to use substances live. And now that we're out of it, we're able to take a fresh look at it and draw from that perspective in everything we do moving forward.
Exactly. It's sort of it's sort of more overview of the darkness instead of being in there.
As a musician with a global influence in the metal community, Addi is in a unique position to help people change their lives that many artists may never experience. As you may or may not know, we never give advice on this show. We believe that you cannot give advice because you don't fully know somebody's story, even when you think you do. So instead, we ask for suggestions. And I was curious, when fans come up to Addi, asking for suggestions on how they can make their life better, how they can change the path they're on, how they can get clean, what does he tell them? And it all begins with a question.
Why is it so hard?
Mm-hmm.
What are you escaping? Have you tried going out for a walk? Have you tried going out running? Mm-hmm. Change your diet, do meditation, try yoga, exercise, do something. Mm. You always know someone that has quit. You know someone that knows someone that has quit. Call that guy, because they might have had a 20-year or 30-year or 10-day experience on their back, and they can help you. Mm-hmm. So there's certain things that I don't want to talk about in interviews that I talk to people one-on-one if they send me mail or if I meet someone. Mm. It's different talking. A lot of people come up to me and say, I've been fighting alcoholism for 10 years, or I keep relapsing, or write me mails. I get mails all the time. So it's I'll talk to them differently face to face or through writings than sort of in an interviews. But you always know someone that has quit. Talk to that guy. A lot of people say they're just so depressed that they won't have to drink. But that's sort of the wrongness here. Alcohol is a fertilizer for depression. So you cannot tell me that you're a depressed person and therefore need to drink alcohol. That's the most stupid thing I've heard. In order for you to get rid of your depression, you have to quit drinking. It all holds hands. So if you have a hard time quit drinking, you have to, or if you have a hard time getting away with depression, to quit drinking. It's the number one fertilizer for depression and anxiety. It's alcohol just as much as weed, but hey, if you're never depressed and you never drive drunk with your kids in the car, or never have an affair, and you don't lose your house, hey man, drink all you can and smoke weed, man. That's great.
When we first started working with Season of Mist on this mini-series, we thought the goal was to shine a light on how addiction and recovery looks in different music scenes around the world. And what we found is that it's largely the same. Generally speaking, there's always somebody suffering. And while they might not always know what they're suffering from, they're usually looking for hope. Hope that exists outside of a bottle, or a powder, or a needle, or whatever it is that they lean on to get through the day. And if that sounds familiar to you, if you're somebody searching for hope beyond a substance, then please seek help. The entire High Notes team is here to help you, and so are our friends at Season of Mist. We're all rooting for you, and we all believe in you. For High Notes, my name is James Shotwell. The show is brought to you by Holics.com and Season of Mist. The show is produced by Landon Defever, with programming consultant Laura Haggard helping out. Our artwork was made by the great Nick Ferran, and our theme song was created by the band You, Me, and Everyone We Know. High Notes will be back soon with even more episodes, and we hope you'll stick around. If you want to find us online, just search High Notes Pod, that's High Notes POD, on Twitter or Instagram. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back soon.